Friday, you may have heard on our bulletins this morning with Sarah that disability campaigners in Leeds say that new transport policies for post-16 people with special educational needs and disabilities will have a devastating impact on families and young people. The decisions were approved by Leeds City Council late last year and will effectively remove home-to-school transport for all new learners aged 16 to 19 with special educational needs or disabilities. This comes in force across the city from this September 2025. Joining me now to tell us about the impact this will have on families is Ailith Harley-Roberts, the Service Delivery Manager of Sunshine and Smiles, which is a Leeds-based charity that organises free events to improve the lives and opportunities of children and families living with Down syndrome in Leeds. Ailith, thanks for being with us this morning. Explain to us then about these cuts that are happening. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Dixie. As you mentioned, I manage a charity supporting people with Down syndrome, but this new policy is going to impact on many more families who have children with a wide range, young people with a wide range of additional needs. So this morning I'm actually speaking on behalf of a group of parents and carers who've set up a campaign group called Save Our School Transport. At the moment we've got 61 families who are part of that group. I think effectively what it means is that many young people will have been receiving home to school transport certainly since they started their high school education, and some of them prior to that, because of the complexity of their needs, but also because many young people who are in specialist education aren't necessarily, going to school or college within their local community. Many families have a long journey to get to that setting. So previously at post-16, people would still have received that home to school transport. And this new policy has effectively removed that home to school transport for many young people. The impact that will have is that some young people just won't be able to get to school or college. It will impact on families who have other children that need to get to other schools, for instance, for parents and carers who are working and will now have to some way transport their children and young people to school or college, which will impact on their working hours and potentially not being able to work at all. And I think there's also a wide-ranging impact for the city as a whole. This will result in more young people not being in education post-16. It will increase issues with emotional well-being and mental health. It will also increase the number of private cars that are on the road, contributing to pollution and congestion across the city.
So what are families telling you, Ailith? Is there a lot of anxiety around this? Families trying to come up with a backup plan of how to make it work, or is it, as you say, just simply, we can't afford to get them to school. If the transport isn't there, we can't do it.
Yeah, I think there's a huge amount of anxiety and distress from parents and carers, but actually, the group of young people that this affects have significant learning needs and additional needs and disabilities. Many of them rely on that school transport to get them to school in the most independent way that they can. And it's also an opportunity for them to travel with their friends. So I have a 15-year-old daughter who has Down syndrome. She will be affected by this policy in the future. Initially, I wasn't sure about her travelling on school transport when she started high school, but when she saw all of her friends arriving to school on the school bus, that's what she wanted to do.
So what do you want to be done? Do you want a change now? Do you want them to reverse this decision? What does the ideal scenario look like for you, Ailith?
I mean, I think, we have tried to have conversations with members of the executive board from Leeds City Council to express our concerns about the impact that this is going to have on young people and families. Unfortunately, those conversations haven't, really come to any fruition. I think, ultimately, young people need to get to school. They deserve to have that education, and that is their right. I think what we would really like is to have meaningful conversations with Leeds City Council leadership who can make decisions and who can listen to the real impact that this policy is now having. It's only in the last week or two that the majority of people have started to have their decisions come through after their transport application. And this morning, before I spoke to you, I've been reading through, we're trying to collect case studies at the moment, people's stories to actually understand, how this is going to impact on people. And some of the stories are, just heartbreaking in terms of people saying, well, I don't know how my young person is going to get to college, or I am going to have to give up my job to be able to get them there. The local authority have offered personal travel allowances in some circumstances, which is a tiered system. So it's £1,000 if you live between 3 and 10 miles from your setting. It's £2,000 for 10 to 20 miles, and then it's £3,000 for 20 miles plus. Well, some people have written to us and have set out calculations which show that some people would be needing to pay £10,000 in just fuel costs over the course of a year, not to mention losing paid working hours.
I can tell you're upset. You are concerned. You mentioned your daughter there. Obviously, you mentioned that experience of being with her friends. This is something potentially that she can't do. And how does that make you feel as a parent that she won't experience that? Yeah,
I think for me that's really, really concerning. I've worked out what Talia's journey, to college would be. So she would need to walk across a busy main road to get to a bus stop. She'd then have to get a bus into town, navigate a change of bus stop and bus in town, then take another bus to her school setting, resulting in a sort of 5 to 10 minute walk at the other end. So it's going to take her a long, long time to get there. She doesn't have the road safety and awareness to manage that kind of journey. She's also incredibly vulnerable. She doesn't understand consequences. So for me, her being able to travel on school transport it's safe. She's supported by a travel assistant and a driver, and she's travelling with friends. The local authority have also, mentioned that they have a travel training scheme, which, that is fantastic. And for young people who can travel more independently and don't want to travel on school transport, then absolutely that is a fantastic scheme, and that should work for those people that it can work for. But unfortunately, it won't work for everybody. And also there are, according to the kind of council's estimate in their Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Impact Report, there are over 1,000 young people who are in this group who are going to be affected. And I don't think realistically that 1,000 people, or a significant number of them, would be travel trained by September. It's a really long process.
Yeah, September 2025 will come quick. Ailith Harley-Roberts, the Service Delivery Manager of Sunshine and Smiles, a Leeds-based charity organising free events to improve the lives and opportunities of children and families living with Down syndrome in Leeds. Ailith, thank you so much for speaking to us today. We did reach out to Leeds City Council on the removal of the school transport for all new learners 16 to 19 with SEN or disabilities from September 2025. Here's what Leeds City Council said. After wide-reaching consultation last year, Leeds City Council made changes to its post-16 transport policy, which will come into effect from September 2025. These changes apply only to new applications for travel support in post-16 education from that date onwards. Transition arrangements are in place to ensure continuity for those currently in post-16 education who are receiving transport support under the current policy, unless there is a significant change in their circumstances, such as change of address, learning setting or medical needs. They say we remain committed to supporting young people with special educational needs and disabilities in accessing education.